Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV and Radio, where wisdom meets experience. Join a dynamic lineup of thought leaders, professionals, and changemakers from around the world. Dr. Madeline Chan from the UK, Mariska Dupreya from Australia, Red O'Loughlin from Texas, USA, Carolyn Heward from the UK, Zunette Lub from Cape Town, South Africa, as they share expert insights, personal journeys, and impactful strategies for success. Talking Heads isn't just a show, it's a global stage for education, collaboration, and inspiration. So elevate your knowledge, expand your perspective, engage in conversations that matter. Streaming globally, empowering locally, this is Talking Heads, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Red O'Loughlin here. We're on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network today. And my topic is on aging, basically the power to transform your aging. A lot of processes are going on in our bodies, and we actually have a lot more control than we think. You may be as curious as I am sometimes when you go through social media and they have, here's a particular old TV show, and they'll say, what do they look like today? And, you know, these are movie stars, people with a lot of money, and amazing, 20, 30, 40 years, and some of them still look pretty decent, but a lot of them, whoa, they've aged a lot. Well, I've written a couple of books on aging, well, the diseases associated with it and everything. But what really controls our aging is kind of the topic I'm going to talk about today. So you have the power to control, to transform your aging. Let's get into some details. So with that, let me just jump into my slide presentation here. Power to transform your aging, live streaming on Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, YouTube, more than a couple channels there because I have mine, Android TV, Apple TV, social media, a lot more. And for everything going on in my shows here on Talking Heads, it's all for awareness and education. Especially if it has some aspect dealing with health and wellness, absolutely talk to your physician or your pharmacist before making any changes or incorporating a new process into your life. Okay, redolaughlin.com is my website. Red, like the color, R-E-D, O'Loughlin, O-L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N, redolaughlin.com. All my contact information, social media, everything is there. My two preferred methods of contact is by phone, just give me a call on the phone, or by email. Those I respond to pretty rapidly. On USA Global TV and Radio Network, on YouTube, you can find our live shows. You can do a search for the archives, and I have some archival shows on my website, also redolaughlin.com. I've been a researcher in my retirement age. I retired in 2007 from Halliburton. I walked in back from lunch, and they said, HR needs to see you. So I went down there, and they said, congratulations, you're retiring today. I said, what? And yeah, they offered me a deal I could not turn down, just absolutely could not. So I retired, and then upset about it for about 30 minutes and said, oh, yeah, well, maybe I can do something else. And so I got involved with other things, and I've been busier in my retirement than I have in my entire life, and that's saying quite a lot. I got a bunch of degrees. My first one was in chemistry, and I use that one almost on a daily basis. Got a bunch of professional certifications. One of them deals with how why did something happen the way it did? And I go into root cause analysis. I spent 31 years in the Navy, retired as a captain. I flew for 16 years, been to a bunch of countries. But my primary focus nowadays is on cause and effect relationships, chemically speaking. What caused that to happen? Can I treat the cause? Can I speed it up? Can I slow it down? What makes sense? But if I'm treating the symptoms, I haven't addressed the cause. The cause is still ongoing. I'm just tamping the symptoms down on the surface. Sometimes the body can fix itself, boom, but sometimes it can't. Been married 57 years, a couple of kids, 3 grandkids, and 1 great grandson now in just a little over a year and a half. Written a bunch of books, independent publisher. I've helped publish over 50 books for people. Distinguished Toastmaster. I've written over 1,000 articles and posted them on LinkedIn, most dealing with some aspect of longevity, age-related disease. Again, this information today is for educational purposes only, and for my video audience, what I work here on USA Global TV and Radio Network. I'm an international TV host. I was number 2 and number 4. My shows for 2024 and for the first 6 months of this year, 2025, I was number 1 in the rankings. Okay, The Joy of Ageless Health is a book I wrote several years ago, and I go into what causes good health. In other words, literally, what can you do to stop disease? And so I look at stress and toxins and radiation and inflammation and diet. And I go into the details. How does those things at the cellular level actually create a problem downstream? What can you do with it? If it's still at the cellular level and it hasn't got to an organ yet that's causing a damage, why not fix it when you can? So that's the one that I look at. But what stops us from aging? Well, what causes us to age? Metabolic, these are, because they overlap, the percentages are not going to be equal to 100%. But if you break them down into various categories, our metabolic health is up to 20%. And they're saying exercise is roughly about the same. Diet, even a little bit more, because we get all our nutrition from our diet. Our body composition, we're talking about our muscle, our skeletal system, our organs, our fat. A lot of things are all in that composition. Again, if I'm obesely overweight, that's going to be different than if I'm starving to death. Some unknowns are in there. Sleep affects our aging, circadian rhythm to a degree, stress more than we think. And one thing I push a long time is caloric restriction, basically fasting. And most of the studies there are in animals, very few in humans, although there's a couple out there that are meaningful. Okay, so if I wanted to slow down, degrade, stop my aging, what do I tackle? There's so much overlap. There's so many things going on. What really works? Well, the good news is there isn't anything that really works, but there are some things, because if you improve your sleeping and you reduce your stress, those are 2 things that you can do at home for free. But there are other things that we can counter it. So if you're not getting the right nutrition, the right exercise, there are many things, and they all overlap. But the genetics, usually about 5% for most people, sometimes in some specific cases, maybe 10. But there's just a lot of unknowns. As we get older, things change. Hormonal cycles happen. We start looking at isolation. If we're a social animal and I'm constantly have a lot of relationships, that's a far better aspect of helping my aging than if I just sit in an old folks home and wait for somebody to show up once every 2 weeks. Inflammation is constantly happening in the body 24/7. Our mental health is can be on the good or bad side, but if we're not paying attention to it, it can go awry. Our environment, and that's everything. It doesn't matter. We're talking about toxins. We're talking about air pollution. We're talking about all sorts of things. Lots and lots and lots of unknowns, lots of interactions, a lot of interdependencies. It's hard to say, do that one thing and it's going to work. It just doesn't work that way. But sometimes you can change one thing and will have a driving effect on others. If you did nothing else but really concentrate on nutrition, and for the next 6 months, that was the main focus. No exercise, no stress management, sleep, you just focus on. That's probably a major important factor in everything. But when we start looking at what transforms our body, at the cellular level, that is where everything starts. I keep my mitochondria healthy, my body will be healthy. I will age at a slower rate. But if I start allowing my mitochondria to be overtaxed, to be uh, abused, then I'm going to start seeing aging occur a lot faster. My diet, my nutrition, these are all lifestyle choices, physical activity, exercise, my fat storage, sleep quality. Circadian rhythm is something I'm seeing a lot more about here in recent years. It hasn't been a major factor in lifestyle choices, but if you're working a late shift, not much you can do about it. But there's a factor in there that circadian rhythm does have an effect on aging. Stress. I'm a big proponent of fasting, caloric restriction. Again, genes about 5% in most cases, but epigenetically, we can, with our lifestyle choices, we can turn off or turn on the genes that are protective. Okay, let's kind of go down the diet and nutrition portion of this thing for a little bit. It's a lifestyle choice. And when you feed your body, the cells, the nutrition it needs, then I have the metabolic health that I need. I have that metabolism that's going to support my immune system. It's going to support all the organs in my body. And over time, it's going to give me a stronger defense against disease. But there's so many different parts of my body. I have muscles. Muscle is a major portion of my overall health, wellness, and longevity. So exercise preserves my muscle. It boosts my metabolism. I'm burning at a greater rate. Metabolic health, over time, that if your metabolic health is good, you're going to see a decent aging, slower than your peers. Uh, Sleep is another one. If I'm getting good quality sleep every night, I'm going to have pretty decent metabolic balance in my body. If I don't, I have a lot of poor night's sleep, my metabolic balance is going to go out of kilter. Stress, something I can control. It's not what happens to you, it happens to everyone. Uh, but it's what you hold on to and don't let go of. Let go of it, let go of it. It's just, there's so many things you can do. But again, from an educational perspective, if you don't know you can do it, you don't do it. But stress left unchecked, chronic stress, can actually cause a lot of inflammation, which causes dysregulation in the metabolic function in our body. Fasting, something I like a lot, and the main reason is that it starts the autophagy process. And I've talked about this so many times. But autophagy is a process that our body goes through. After about 18 hours of fasting, 16, 18, we turn on the switch for autophagy. Autophagy becomes about 100% at about 72 hours. But what autophagy does, I equate it to driving a trash truck through our bloodstream and stopping at every single cell, knocking on the cell door saying, got any trash to throw away? And the cell collects all the trash, throws it out. And now all of a sudden the cell has no trash in it. It's nice and clean, no longer encumbered. And right behind the trash truck, there's the recycler. It knocks on the cell and says, hey, you got anything to recycle? And so, yeah, this isn't working so well. So the recycle truck fixes it or gives me a new one. Now I have a pretty good cell again. And so when the autophagy comes in, it cleans up everything. But if you're eating, it stops. You can't do autophagy and eat at the same time. Now there's some fasting mimicking studies that say, yeah, you have some level of control even by eating some things that doesn't really affect the autophagy. But in reality, you really need to fast. Genetics, we talk about that a lot. Even with having a genetic predisposition for breast cancer, for Alzheimer's, to something else, lifestyle choices can affect your genetic predisposition. But the lifestyle choices we talk about are exercise. Are we doing the same exercise every day? Am I going out and running a mile, 2 miles every day, but I don't look at balance, I don't look at flexibility, I don't look at strength, I don't look at other things? Sometimes we become blinded. So, but if I want to start somewhere in my body to say, what can I do to accelerate or decelerate the aging processes? Let's start with our metabolic health. This starts in our cells at the mitochondrial level, because that's the part of our body that provides energy to everything we do. If the mitochondria aren't working right, I'm going to be fatigued, sleepy. I'm not going to be able to do anything. I have no energy. I have no strength. I need my mitochondrial really and truly functioning at a high level. So if I'm just normally aging year after year after year, I'm going to see some functional decrease because over time things stop working. You take something simple like human growth hormone. When you're a toddler, you're making it hand over fist because you're growing. Your body goes from foot tall to 2 foot to 3 foot. By the time you're 20, you might be 6 foot tall. That human growth hormone was the gorilla in the room that controlled everything. You get older, you're making less and less. There are things that you can do. We've talked about them before. High intensity interval training is one, but fasting, 24-hour fast, does wonders for your human growth hormone. But when your human growth hormone goes back up again into, say, normal levels, maybe 70 years of age, you may have 10% of what you had at 1 year of age. But if I could get my 70-year-old body back up to, say, equivalent to 30 years of age, a lot of my other hormones are going to respond accordingly because the gorilla in the room is your human growth hormone. And that's the one, as it goes back up into the normal range, all the other ones are going to follow. But aging affects all our hormones, affects every aspect of our body, our muscles, our brain, everything. Now, some people you may say, they're 100 years of age and their brain is just 100%. Well, yeah. But again, everybody's a little different because some people, they may be 60 and their brain is just nowhere near 60. It's 85 or above. But if my mitochondria are operating fine, great. But if they're not, then I'm going to start seeing my energy levels go down. My oxidative, my inflammation stresses are going to go up. My DNA is going to be damaged. All that stuff accumulates in the cell. If I don't fast and autophagy comes in and clean things out, that cell, if you haven't done a long-term fast ever in your life, all your cells are sitting there with the same trash they had decades ago. It needs some level of clean out periodically. But lifestyle factors can either exacerbate or accelerate or decelerate. Amazing what just the normal things we do every single day can do. If you're overweight, you're a smoker, you don't exercise, those are lifestyle factors. If you don't smoke, you're perfect weight or good weight, you exercise a lot, you de-stress, lots of things. I mean, they don't cost us anything to speak of, but they affect our aging process significantly. Mitochondrial dysregulation, not dysfunction, but dysregulation. I'm not getting the right nutrients from my diet. I'll talk about gut health at the very end, but I take my food in, I digest it. If I don't have the right minerals, the right amino acids, the right proteins, everything that I need that my body can't make, or I don't have the raw materials that my body can make, I'm going to start seeing my mitochondrial not producing the energy that it used to do. And again, it's a diet issue. Chronic stress does the same thing. It just puts a lot of stress onto certain parts of our body, and that's the cellular level. No exercise, sedentary lifestyle, environmental toxins, particularly in the United States, it's in epidemic levels. And it's a lot in the foods we eat. It's a lot in the skincare products that we put on our bodies. Sometimes it's just the environment. You use air fresheners. You use all sorts of things on your laundry deal to make things smell better or whatever. A lot of these environmental toxins actually have an effect, a derogatory effect on our aging processes. And over time, these little incremental insults that the body gets accumulate. And most of them are controllable to a degree. I mean, if I have a laundry soap and it smells like lilac, do I need it? No. If I get rid of it, that's one incremental thing that I can do. The mitochondrial health is what I talked about autophagy, AUTOPHAGY. But specifically for the mitochondria, there's a thing called mitophagy, and that's the one that specializes in the mitochondrial health. So I look at autophagy as being a cleanup of the cell. Well, that mitophagy is the cleanup of the mitochondria. So it goes in, and if there's a damaged mitochondria, or that's part of the function of the cell, autophagy takes care of all that junk and crap and stuff that's around in the cell. But if I really need to repair the mitochondria, or remove it completely. That's the aspect, one of the subsets of autophagy, the mitophagy, to take care of the mitochondria. So I go in there, I do my autophagy, everything works. I get my cellular balance restored. I minimize or get rid of a lot of the accumulations of stuff over time. And I have some level of preventing excess inflammation and oxidative stress because I have now a fully healthy cell mitochondrial level. Now, I mentioned, let me back up 1 second. Let me back up here. Boom. Inflammation. Literally every disease starts in the cells, chronic low-level cellular inflammation. You can control that by your fruits and vegetables, antioxidants. But if you don't control it, and this is 24/7, the mutations that are going to occur at the cellular level are going to cause DNA mutations, disruptions. It's going to lead to a thing called oxidative stress. You may have a piece of metal outside. Well, every day is getting hit by rain and sunshine and this and that. But over time, you may notice some rust occurring on it. That rust is that oxidative stress. It doesn't happen on day one, but over time it accumulates. So the oxidative stress is really what starts that process of disease. So if I can control my body's inflammation, I can control a lot moving down the stream. We talk about a lot of things that control aging. Well, one of those things is our insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance. And this, generally speaking, increases with age. The things we don't want to increase with age, increase with age. That's the way life is. But if I allow that insulin resistance to increase, it can have an impact on my cardiovascular health, my cognitive function. Lots of things can occur because I'm not paying attention to my insulin and how it's being used in the body. Well, if I do my fasting, the autophagy comes in, cleans up the cell. Well, autophagy also works in promoting a lot of other things in the body. Insulin is one, hormonal secretions. Adiponectin is one that addresses the insulin sensitivity. We talked last week about AMPK, SIRT1, SIRT2-in-1, and mTOR, mammalian targeted rapid myosin. These are pathways in the body. And if they're healthy, you're going to be healthy. If they're damaged, they're blocked, or impaired, you're going to see similar cases where my health is not as good as it should be. So that autophagy is something that we can control. It just means I stop eating for a while. Most people can't do that, but you can stop. Maybe you can only do 24 hours. I don't know. But don't just start fasting, particularly if you're on any kind of prescription meds. Absolutely. Talk to your doctor first or your pharmacist. Find out what you can do because it's super important. But as I'm looking at a lifestyle factor, let's talk about exercise. If I exercise, my insulin sensitivity improves. If I'm eating a healthy diet, my insulin sensitivity improves. I'm getting quality sleep, same thing. If I'm managing my stress, same thing. Lots of things I can do that will reverse insulin resistance and make my insulin sensitivity better. Fasting is another one. If I reduce my sugar, I'm no longer adding extra insulin to the body. If I choose low glycemic index foods, those that don't have a lot of response to sugar, then again, I have the ability to control my insulin, the response of my insulin. Magnesium, chromium, zinc, vitamin D3, vitamin C, cinnamon, and I'll talk about, you have two different kinds of cinnamon basically out there in the world, Ceylon and cassia. Ceylon has less coumarin in it. So if you're going to buy cinnamon, and again, this is something that can be a health issue. Just don't go buy pills of cinnamon and start taking them because you can. Look at the Ceylon rather than the cashew. Be very careful about that. And it's a dosage issue, so you have to be, very wise in how much and what you use it in. Berberine, alpha-lipoic acid, ALA, omega-3s, N-acetyl, coenzyme Q10. Lots of things help our insulin sensitivity. Again, awareness and education. These are things that you can do if your foods include magnesium and chromium and zinc. In fact, I've had more than a couple of people come back to me. I says, in the old days, 100 years ago, doctors controlled gestational diabetes with chromium. because the fetus would steal the mom's chromium in the process of uh, growing in the body. They would take chromium, and all of a sudden their insulin usage either stopped or they cut it in half. There's a lot of things that we don't do that we did 100 years ago because they're lost and who knows what. But chromium, if you have type 2 diabetes, talk to your doctor about it because it might be something of immense value to you. We have a lot of hormones, and as a 20-year-old, boom, we're fine, bulletproof, nothing can happen. But as we get older, these things start to wane a little bit, start to decline. And when we start losing our testosterone, estrogen, melatonin, they all affect thyroid, they all affect the body, and they affect our aging processes. They actually increase the rate at which we age and the visual presentations of our skin, our bodies, our movements and things. So we look at muscle loss, sarcopenia, we look at bone weakness, brittle bone, inability to sleep well. Thyroid affects our stress hormones. If you're carrying an extra couple, 3 inches around the waist, it's because stress loves to store cortisol. Cortisol loves to store fat around the gut because in the gut area, the tissues there have 4 times more fat storing capability than elsewhere in the body. That's why you end up that big gut, because that cortisol from stress causes it. Cortisol loves to store fat. That's like a main prime directive in cortisol's life. Let me get some fat and let me store it. And it's what it does. It does a very good job. Okay. So what can I do to improve my hormonal levels as I get older? In other words, they're declining. I want to not accelerate the declination of that. But if I know that obesity accelerates hormonal level decline, then obviously being at a manageable weight is better. If I'm smoking, okay, that causes a decline. Stop smoking. Poor diet, sedentary, all those things, lifestyle factors are things that cause your hormones to decline rapidly. So if we can control what we do on a daily basis, I should be able to see my aging processes. I'm transforming them into a happier aging. I don't look so old. I feel better. I walk better. So I can see a decrease. And one of the other things that happens too is I may have lower levels of testosterone, but where that testosterone needs to connect to a particular organ, the receptors are also susceptible to aging. So all of a sudden now I have maybe the right level of having a particular hormone, but the receptors are not as sensitive. We talk about insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance. That's a perfect example. The receptors for those are not operating at the same level of sensitivity because of aging. So what can I do? Well, again, fall back on your lifestyle factors. Those are the things that you have control of every day, and they're free. Muscle mass. I've been reading a couple books lately and talks about aging, and this particular doctor's perspective is muscle mass is really the true driver of age. Well, everybody's entitled to opinion. I look at it differently, but he has his studies, he has his interpretation. But when I look at his solutions to some problems, he says, well, this is what it is. We need to develop a drug that does this. But anytime you have a drug, you also have side effects. But even though they're saying, well, this is what happens in real life when we're using a particular herb or whatever. Well, why not just use that herb rather than develop a drug that does the same thing? I don't understand. That's probably one of those things I never will. But sarcopenia, loss of muscle mass, it affects up to 20%. I think it's a lot more than 20%. I don't think there's people over 65 that have near the same level. I'd say it's well over 50. But again, when I look on Google, Dr. Google says 20%. I'll put that in the slide. But my own impression is I don't see people over 65 years of age, at least half of them, having the same muscle mass they had 30 years earlier. What causes muscle mass to decline, strength to decline? Aging to a degree. But how many of us, I just turned literally, today's the 11th, 2 days ago I turned 79, had my birthday. My level of physical activity today is not what it was 5 years ago, just before COVID. genetics has an effect. And if I'm not doing the epigenetic things that I need to control turning on and off genes, then genetics may actually start inching in the door, getting its finger through the crack there. Our hormones change because they decline. Nutritional deficiencies because I don't want to eat that anymore, whatever it is. You start relying more on comfort foods. A lot of chronic diseases really start to inflame as we get older. Cardiovascular disease, diabetes, a lot of chronic inflammation. Lots of things there happen, and they happen because we're aging. So what can I do to support my muscle mass and stuff? Well, exercise, resistance, eat more protein, hydration, good quality sleep. They say 150 minutes of exercise a week, swimming, walking, biking, whatever, but some level of activity. Get out of the house, climb some stairs, walk around the block. Again, exercise, not just strength training and resistance. As I'm getting older, I need to concentrate on my balance, my flexibility. Look at my body weight. That's just one example of being able to manage our fat. They tell us our gut is our second brain, but our calf muscles are what they consider to be our second heart. That when you're using your calf muscles by walking, by squatting, by doing any kind of exercise, your body actually, the calf pushes blood back up into the heart. And so it's actually operating to circulate more blood, which circulates more oxygen. And one of the benefits is you reduce the likelihood of varicose veins, deep vein thrombosis, swelling, fatigue, a lot of things that are happening there because you have good, strong calf muscles because you're exercising. Fat distribution, visceral fat. This is one thing that I've been really focusing on for my own self is visceral fat collects right around your organs. It's not the big gut fat that you have. You can reach down and grab a handful. That's a problem. But the visceral fat is what really concentrates around your liver and your kidneys and the organs that you have in your body. And so it's like targeted fat. And it's not difficult to get rid of, but it's like anything else. If I'm not doing my lifestyle factors and paying attention to it, it's, oh, God, I forgot. I didn't know it. And nothing happens. So they all impact the level of inflammation in my body. They impact my insulin resistance. They increase my risk of cardiovascular disease. And there's a lot of connection clinically between the level of visceral fat and the onset and duration and the intensity of age-related diseases. So I got my belly fat, I got my fat around my organs, it accelerates my aging. And again, if I have a lot of fat around my heart, I'm going to start seeing probably more issues in my cardiovascular system than somewhere else. But when you start seeing a lot of this extra fat that we're carrying around, it has increased risk of frailty, cancer, and metabolic syndrome, which is your type 2 diabetes and other high blood pressure and things. Sleep, stress. Two things we generally are exposed to every day. What's the quality of your sleep? What are you doing to affect your stress? They all affect our metabolic health, which affects our aging. So if I'm getting poor sleep, I'm actually affecting the hormones that increase my need to eat. So it increases my inflammation because my body is not being allowed time to do the repairs it needs. And inflammation is there. I'm not eating properly. Chronic oxidation. Lots of things are happening because I'm either allowing my sleep to be disrupted because of stress in many cases. If you're laying there in bed and all of a sudden you're thinking of the same thing, you can't go to sleep, that's a clue. Something's bothering you enough to prevent you from going to sleep. But if I'm having a problem with my sleep, I also see increased risk of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance increases. Sleep is such a critical part because that's really and truly when your body takes time to actually make the repairs that it needs on a daily basis. But you need the right nutrients in the body, a lot of sulfur, to get to the places where those repairs need to be made. Stress increases cortisol, which increases inflammation. If we're not doing some kind of stress management, breathing exercise in general is a great stress reliever. But it's something that I see something on TV. Does it affect me? Do I walk away irritated with it? Do I walk into a room because my boss, my wife, my kids, my neighbor? Let it go. The stress is going to be there. It's not whether you are exposed to it. Everyone is. It's what you hold on to and don't let go. So let it go. But stress increases our blood sugar sensitivity, blood pressure, belly fat, lots of things stress does to it. And it leads to metabolic disorders, again, diabetes and heart disease. Stress is cumulative, but you can control it. Again, let it go. It's your mindset. A lot of breathing exercises, breathing control. YouTube is a great source of what can I do. Pranayamas are breathing exercises. I find those to be very instructive and helpful. Quality of sleep, again, improves the stress management. Because you're no longer taking that stressor that's keeping you awake at night. You're getting rid of it, and it's no longer, okay, what's going on? Why am I awake? So I already talked about if something's keeping you awake, it's probably a clue that that's a stressor. Balanced nutrition, if I'm not getting the right nutrition I need, those deficiencies cause problems throughout the body. A lot of social connections, and I'm talking about people. If you're not having a pleasant conversation with people on a regular basis, that's a problem. We're not meant to be isolationists because that isolation can, in fact, cause issues with aging. Also increases or can decrease our stress. So if I'm in more of an isolated area, that's going to increase my stress. Even though you say, oh, I don't have anybody there, it does if you're not getting rid of it. So move away from the stresses if you can. Let it go. Gut health, that's a big one. It's one of those things that how our gut is, that's how the rest of our body is going to be. Our gut is our stomach and our intestines. It's our digestive absorption processes. We got good bacteria and bad bacteria. It's a constant battle. Nutrition is the key. Prebiotics, probiotics, fiber, fermented foods. And that everything that goes on in the gut crosses many different functions in the body, primarily through the immune system, if nothing else. You get metabolic disorders from the immune system. You get neurological issues. You got the gut brain connects with each other as talking. A lot of things can go out of whack because of the gut not being in good health. Good gut health promotes good vascular inflammation. If I don't good vascular health, if I don't have good gut health, I promote vascular inflammation, which creates heart issues. It accelerates the aging processes. So again, nutrition is key. If you're having steak and potatoes every night and you're not seeing anything green on your plate, that might be a clue. You have the power to transform everything. It's in the choices you make every day. Lifestyle factors, lifestyle choices. Start. It's your diet, your exercise, your stress management, the quality of sleep you get, the nutrition that you choose, the exercise you choose to do. If you can reduce your inflammation, again, through antioxidants, those are the fruits and vegetables. If you can manage your stress and focus on the quality of your sleep, those are going to go a major way. And whoops, I thought I had 30 slides today. I did, but I took some out. Anyway, I guess that's kind of an interesting way to tell me that's the end of my presentation. But lifestyle choices are what we do every day. If we decide to exercise or not, the types of exercises we choose to do, the types of foods we choose to eat, when we choose to eat them, when we go to bed, when we decide I need to de-stress even if I'm not feeling stressed. Lots and lots of choices we have. They're all generally free. It's just part of awareness and education, which is what this program and many other programs on the USA Global TV and Radio Network provide. So from my perspective, if you're going to look for changing or transforming your aging processes, start with your lifestyle choices every day. To me, the number one would be nutrition, but you have to literally address each one of them. So we're coming up on a new year, 2026, pretty soon. Maybe get a new start by concentrating now on those things you want to make effective next year. Maybe the easiest one is stress. Go to YouTube, find out what you can do, breathing exercise, start doing it, and make sure you have 3 or 4 or 5 different ones. I like emotional freedom techniques, EFT. I find that to be a very good stress reducer. But pick something and start today. So take care, y'all. Red O'Loughlin signing out. Bye.
What if one simple skill could change the way you connect with the world? What if listening could open doors to deeper relationships, stronger businesses, and a better you? Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the Listening Mentor, brings you USA Global TV and Radio, a space where voices are heard, ideas are shared, and global communities thrive. Through the elevated listeners' courses and books, you'll master the power of listening, set boundaries with confidence, and transform conversations into opportunities. Join us. Listen, learn, elevate. Whether you're a leader, a coach, a business owner, or someone seeking stronger connections, your journey starts today. Subscribe, learn, and transform today.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram-Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who was going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram-Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
In a world that moves fast, there's strength in the woman who moves with grace. Introducing Bay London, where confidence meets craftsmanship. Each piece is intentionally designed for the woman who knows her worth, crafted from luxurious Italian eco-fabrics that feel as good as they look. With elegant coverage, effortless support, and timeless style, our swimwear celebrates both your body and your essence. Founded by fashion expert Carrie Sykes, Bay London is made for women who want to feel sexy, stylish, and seen. From poolside to beachside, sunrise to sunset, Bay London outfits you for every moment that matters. Because beauty isn't about age, it's how you wear your confidence. Bay London, confidence, elegance, effortless luxury. Visit baylondon.com. Act now for your exclusive friends and family discount of $35. Scan the QR code. Bay London, where confidence meets craftsmanship. Proud sponsor of USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA Global TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.